This is a story about a lie. But not just any lie. We're talking about a lie so big it literally poisoned the air we breathe, ended up costing billions of dollars, and tragically led to thousands of deaths. And it all started with a little secret, hidden deep inside one of the world's most popular cars. See, on the surface, it was marketed as this shining example of clean, efficient German engineering. The perfect car for someone who cared about the planet. But under the hood, it was hiding something really dark. Its whole purpose wasn't just to get you from point A to point B. It was built to deceive. And for a long, long time, it worked perfectly. To really wrap your head around just how massive this deception was, you first have to understand the brand behind it all. I mean, think about it. Volkswagen. They weren't just some car company. They were a global symbol of trust and reliability. And they built their entire modern reputation on this big promise of clean diesel, these amazing cars that were supposed to be powerful and eco-friendly. It was a promise that millions of us bought into. But here's the thing, that whole promise, it was a total fiction, just a carefully constructed story. The reality was a calculated, deliberate fraud that went on for nearly a decade, fooling regulators, customers, all of us. So you have to be asking, how? How on earth did one of the biggest car companies in the world pull off a deception on this scale? Well, the answer wasn't in the engine block. It was in the code. At the very heart of this scandal was something called a defeat device. Now, this isn't a physical part you could hold in your hand. No. It's just lines of software, code, buried deep inside the car's computer. And its one and only job was to know when it was being tested and to put on a show. Basically, the car was living a double life. When it was in the lab, the software would recognize the test conditions. The steering wheel is straight, the front wheels are spinning, but the back ones aren't, and it would turn on all the emissions controls. It passed every test with flying colors. But the second those wheels hit a real road, boom, the software shut on those controls right off. So what was the result? Well, out on the open road, these supposedly clean cars were spewing out pollutants, specifically nitrogen oxides, at levels up to 40 times the legal limit in the US. I mean, this wasn't some tiny rounding error. This was a massive, flagrant violation of the law. And let's be absolutely clear about this. This was not some accident. It wasn't a software glitch or a bug. It was a feature. It was intentionally designed by engineers to cheat tests that they knew for a fact the cars could never pass otherwise. So this just raises this huge, obvious question. Why? Right? Why would a company with so much to lose risk absolutely everything on such a blatant, undeniable lie? The answer, it turns out, is this really toxic brew of ambition, pressure, and just plain fear. Inside Volkswagen, the culture was apparently relentless. Executives set these goals for their engineers that were just impossible. They said, hey, create a powerful, fuel-efficient diesel engine that can meet America's super strict emission standards, but don't you dare sacrifice performance or make it too expensive. And when the engineers realized they just couldn't do it, well, they were trapped. This quote, which came from an insider, really says it all. The environment was that intense. The pressure to deliver was so immense that engineers felt like they had no other choice. Failing wasn't an option. So they chose to cheat instead of admitting they couldn't meet the targets. But all this corporate pressure, it wasn't happening in a vacuum. It had devastating real-world consequences. The millions of tons of extra pollution these cars were pumping into the air wasn't just some number on a spreadsheet. It had a direct and truly tragic human cost. After the whole scandal finally came to light, researchers did the math, and the studies linked all that excess pollution to thousands of premature deaths around the world, from things like asthma, respiratory disease, and heart conditions. The company's obsession with profit had a very real and very fatal price. For years, this lie just kept going. But then, in 2015, a small team of independent researchers, of all places in West Virginia, figured it out. They had the brilliant idea to test the cars on the actual road, not just in a lab. And once they did that, the whole thing unraveled. The fallout was immediate, and it was immense. The financial hit was just staggering. All in all, Volkswagen was forced to pay over $30 billion in fines, settlements, and buying back cars. To this day, it's one of the biggest corporate penalties in history. Top executives, including the CEO, were actually arrested and faced prison. So many careers were just completely destroyed.
The company's reputation, that image of honesty and precision they'd built for decades, was shattered literally overnight. And yet, after all of that, the company itself survived.
So, what do we take away from all of this? I mean, it's easy to look at this whole mess and just say, wow, that was one really bad company. But the truth might be a little more uncomfortable.
Because in the years that followed, as investigators started digging, they found that other major car companies were using similar cheating tricks. The problem, as it turned out, wasn't just one bad apple. What made Volkswagen's crime so special was just the sheer scale and arrogance of it all. That's why they got caught. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other, maybe more subtle, deceptions are still out there, flying under the radar? The whole story of the defeat device is just a chilling reminder. It makes you ask, when the relentless pressure for profit goes up against basic ethics, what's really happening behind the closed doors of the world's biggest corporations? And if a company could lie so effectively about the very air we all breathe, what else could be hidden from us right now?